Good morning, everyone. It's good to be in the city of Lucknow on a very chill winter day. Mr. Abhishek Mishra, Cabinet Minister for Skill Development, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the India Today Group and the India Today magazine, it is a great pleasure to welcome you all to the first State of the State Conclave and report on Uttar Pradesh being organized by the India Today magazine. It is also very special because this conclave is India Today's initiative to micro-focus on development in the state. As some of you all may know, since 2003, we have been running what is called the State of the State report. This is the magazine's ranking of the best Indian states based on the business environment and quality of life. This has now been recognized, even if I may say so, as the gold standard for evaluating the social and economic health of the Indian state. Mr. Arun Jaitley, who had come to preside over the most recent report, talked of it as a benchmark, which even the government looks at, and Prime Minister Modi also, in one of his speeches, mentioned that this is the report that he looks forward to every year. And as we kept doing this, among the many requests that we got from chief ministers, was that India Today should examine the individual states more closely. They were very curious as to why the other state was winning and why they were not winning. And so they said, could you give us data that you were collecting to have a look at how we could make that difference? If a particular state was number one in health, Kerala, for instance, Gujarat was asking us, how do they do it? And they were very curious about the development examples that were going on. In fact, this was one of the reasons we decided that since the State of the State report was a macro approach, that looked at all the states together, compared them as apples to apples, and then came out with reports about who performed better. And when we decided that there were many states that had great advantage because of history, geography, or whatever reasons, we decided that not only would we focus on giving the best state, but the most improved state. In the last 2 years or 3 years, who did better? So therefore, there was a better sort of comparison rather than just a historical or a geographical comparison of what was this thing. So part of that was a development that we decided that we should do the State of the State report, as different from State of the States. State of the State report was important because, as we know, in the last 10 years, the states have become the main economic drivers of the country's development. It is the states that actually, when they do well, reflects on the GDP of the country. If we do not focus on the states, there's no way India can be one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So we began to then examine how could we do this report. And we decided that it should be at the district level, because it is from the districts that really is the organic head that transforms the state. If we actually broke it down, of course, we can go even further to the panchayat level, but that was a level that we could focus on and come up with some comparisons. So the concept then was, when we developed the State of the State report, and by the way, this is the second of them, we started with Jharkhand in July because that was a smaller state, and we thought we'd test our concepts rather than come to a large state like Uttar Pradesh, which has 75 districts, as compared to Jharkhand, which had 19 districts at that time when we were looking at it. So we decided that we would do a complete X-ray of the district and then compare them. And again, here we decided that because some districts, particularly, say, Noida and others, would have both historical, geographical advantages of development, they might come the winner all the time. So here again, we decided that we would not only have the best district, but also the most improved districts. And I think that when we did the Jharkhand report, we understood a lot of the parameters, which we've then improved upon. And we decided that we would then do our first large report on Uttar Pradesh. And Uttar Pradesh is important for various reasons. It is key, in some senses, to India's development narrative. It is, of course, the most populous state, a subcontinent by itself, if one has to look at it, 204 million or something like that. It is the fourth largest in geographical size. Uttar Pradesh is literally India's heartland. It is the country's political, cultural, and intellectual hub. What is very interesting when we were doing the study was that in the last few years, particularly in the last decade or so, I wouldn't say just 5 years. I know you would like that. But to be absolutely objective, we are not looking at any political party. But we have noticed a remarkable economic turnaround that Uttar Pradesh has given us. And if you look, it is actually now, when I was covering Uttar Pradesh in the 80s, we used to call it one of the Bimaru states. It was one of, the ones that were really sick in terms of development. But it has now, I'm very happy to say, emerged from its Bimaru status and is poised, and that is the great news, for great strides in economic development, particularly in several categories. And let's not forget, what happens in Uttar Pradesh also determines the course of Indian politics, right? And very soon, this state is going to go to an election. It will be a referendum not only on the Mr. Akhilesh Yadav's government in the state, and I'm sure Abhishek ji is looking forward to that referendum, but also, let's not forget, is going to be a midterm poll on Mr. Narendra Modi's government at the center, and in some senses, a semi-final for the Lok Sabha elections. But we didn't time the study to coincide with that. Let me be very, very clear on that thing. This was not meant to be a kind of, an assessment of the state government. This is completely separate from it because our study actually goes for more than a decade and then looks at the development. So this is not trying to say this is what we call a report on the Akhilesh Yadav government. Let me be very clear on that so that there's no confusion that we are, doing a 5-year assessment of what he's done for the state. This is a larger picture that we're looking at. Also, wanted to point out, Abhishek ji, and to the audience, that this is not an opinion poll. Opinion polls have gone wrong in the past, and we've seen that more recently in the United States, when no one predicted Donald Trump's win, and everybody said Hillary is going to win, and then he came as a surprise. We didn't want that to happen. So we are not assessing the mood of the public. What we are doing is actually taking solid, objective data, particularly sources like the census, the National Sample Survey, the National Crime Records Bureau, if you're looking at law and order, key economic development parameters, like the state of the state surveys that we do, the state of the economy in that. We put all that together, and then what we do is we divide that into critical categories. We study education, health, agriculture, industry, services, water and sanitation, governance and law and order, infrastructure, and economic prosperity. In fact, all the gamut of any development a state has to do, any activity that development activity a state has to do. And then that, in some senses, when we do this, we are using national data as well as state data. And this gives us a barometer of not only what Uttar Pradesh excels in and where are the issues that it has, but also then becomes a comparison for the rest of the country, because the same empirical data and the same statistical method that we have evolved is used to assess Madhya Pradesh, it's used to assess Gujarat. We're going next week to Gujarat to do the same study. And then, therefore, it becomes a benchmark for comparison. And just as in the state of the states, when the chief ministers used to ask us, how does this state develop better than I do, we are now making it district level. So every district firstly competes with each other, which gives it a sense of, we should do better next year or the next 2-3 years, whenever the state happens. Also becomes a comparison nationally, because an IAS officer or DM or anybody else who's sitting in another state can look at Uttar Pradesh and say, I've got the same data. If I compare it, I can understand where my state is going wrong. And we were speaking to Abhishek ji just now, just before this, and he came up with a very interesting thing. He said it actually helps us understand where to pinpoint some of the problems. So if I know that this particular district in Uttar Pradesh is doing better and there is a problem of health in another district, I can say, let me see what I need to focus on. And in that sense, I think he summed it up beautifully for us, which is that the idea of this study is not to be critical. This is not to make such and such a district is a bad district and such a district is a great one. That is not the idea of this particular exercise that is there. The idea is to be constructive, to come out with positive solutions and how we can help each other. And also the idea is to reward districts that have done well and make them do better the next time. So let me also say that I'm very, very happy and grateful that a lot of the experts have come here to talk to us today. And we have very interesting sessions that are going to happen on all the key parameters with top experts of the state. And I would request them not only to look at what's wrong and say, point out what are the problems that are there, but also to come up with out-of-the-box and constructive solutions, which we have ministers like Abhishek Ji, one of the most dynamic ministers of the state, to be here, as well as we are getting the Chief Minister, who's very kindly agreed to give away the prizes later in the evening to all the winning districts. Both of these, I hope, will take the inputs that we that we produce during the day, as well as our report, and make use of it in a manner that they think is fit. So once again, let me thank you for coming here this morning on a very cold but I think getting brighter day, and also to thank the minister specially for taking time out. I've listened to him in the past. He's one of the most dynamic ministers the state has. Brilliant ideas, has a great educational background, very impressive, and I've listened to him talk on skill development, and I think not only does he speak with such clarity and vision, all the awards that the state has won in the national level is fully deserved. So my congratulations to you and welcome to all. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.